So moving on to the fun portion of the mock draft, we're going to toss up the mock draft real quick. And Kevin, you can, I guess, give your thoughts on why you went with these picks.
Yeah. So first, you follow me on Twitter. I put this. I do mock draft Sundays, and so I said that today was mock draft Wednesday. Today is Thursday.
Yeah.
It's been one of those days, guys. It's been a busy day. I'm tired. I barely got any sleep last night. So it's been one of those days. Today is Thursday, but for the world to see, showed my tiredness.
Mock draft Wednesday.
Here we go. It's mock draft Wednesday today. So with the 30th pick, I ended up taking Troy Fautanu out of Washington. Now he's listed as a tackle. He has like tackle guard versatility. And I think with the Ravens uncertainty, we could be looking at at the very maximum 4 new starters. Now it's not going to be that. I don't think the Ravens are going to completely go in a rebuild like that. But the big question is if you keep Ronnie Stanley and Morgan Moses. So let's say they move on from both the guards, Simpson and Zeitler, and they keep both tackles. The big thing is you want to get production out of your first round pick because, a project sitting behind somebody at the stage the Ravens are at right now, they're a competitive team. They're trying to win Super Bowls. You want to spend your first round pick on somebody that will contribute right away and have an impact. I think if you put Fautanu at guard, if you keep Stanley and Moses around, you can have him play because he can kick in and out. He's a good zone blocker, and he also pulls really well too. We know the Ravens love to get out in space, have their offensive linemen out there, and he is a left tackle. That's where he's played most of his career. But again, he has actually kicked inside before and played left guard. So with the hole there, I think I feel better if the Ravens take someone who has that versatility, or if they move on from one of the tackles. Obviously, there are probably 7 or 8 first round tackle prospects. It's such a deep top of the draft. It falls off after like second or third roundish. But you have a lot you can work with there.
I think that's what intrigues me the most about a guy. It seems like a Ravens pick in the fact that he kicks into guard for 1 year while also learning from a Ronnie Stanley, or a Morgan Moses, and then takes over. It feels like the Ravens love to have guys, one on the offensive line, like you said, who can get out in space, but they love versatility. So I think that's what I like about this pick is it is someone who screams, okay, he's going to learn. He might be the left tackle of the future, but he's going to come in, play left guard to start because we want to ensure that we have a strong offensive line. We have our best players out there. And then when Ronnie Stanley, it comes to we can cut him, trade him, whatever it may be, probably after this year, then you have the, I guess, next man up already sitting there having a year of, learning from him, learning the system, and you can just pick up and go.
Yeah, and I think his athleticism makes him intriguing because I think Baltimore just wants to get more athletic in general, where a lot of this is not talked about. But in terms of what Todd Monken versus Greg Roman in those conversations, it wasn't just, Todd Monken is inheriting this offense. It's Todd Monken is inheriting this roster. And Greg Roman built his offensive line, and, with John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta, is kind of like those heavy head banger guys who can go and be super physical, and they're athletic. They can get out into space. But I think with Todd Monken, you want even more athletic offensive linemen than what you have right now. So I think that if they get somebody who is athletic like a Fautanu, I think that that's a good pick for him. Then actually in the second round, I went with Braylon Trice. And just a little disclaimer here. I did this before the combine started, and Braylon Trice had like...
You don't know ball.
I can't predict the future, guys. It's one of the things I'm trying to work on. But Trice had a very poor 40. And again, as Zach said, we're in the era of over and underreacting to, definitely overreacting to 40 times, right?
Kevin walked into the studio, and one of the first things he said was like, people are going to be so mad at me. Trice ran such a bad 40 time. They're going to be so upset.
And you want to know, I see the comment here from Sedarian says that Chop Robinson's out of reach. Now, Chop Robinson was on the board for me, and I took Trice because Trice has been widely regarded as a first-round prospect. He's super physical. He's big. He's tall. But Robinson, I think, put himself firmly in first-round conversation.
He ran a 4.49.
Yeah.
Like 250, right? He's 250.
Yeah. 254. He ran a 4.49.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's wild.
Chop Robinson is going to, I think, for better or worse, this is going to be this year's guy that is going to show out as an athletic freak at the combine, and it is going to shoot him up draft boards. Just unreal. No man, one, for him to look like that. How much does he weigh?
254.
Just pure muscle, 254.
That is insane.
You shouldn't move like that at that size. That should not be allowed. So, Kevin, next up with
with the draft, I ended up so Trice is someone that I think if we're talking about, like, you can almost flip where Robinson and Trice were projected. I think Trice might be viewed now as more of a second round. So maybe the Ravens can, because I picked him with the thought in mind that he's not going to be there when they pick in the early 60s in the second round. Maybe he could be there now. And then the last pick here, I took Blake Corum at 93. This is Zach loves it. This is there we go.
Get the drama going, baby.
Now, for a lot of people, this is the pick they do not like. My comments were, half of them were, it's Thursday. The other half were Blake Corum in the third round. That's disgusting. Like, da-da-da. And I think a lot of it is because, look, you talk about worn down running backs coming into the NFL. Corum was a workhorse, a bell cow running back coming out of college. Now, there's a lot of smoke around him going to the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, with obviously Austin Eckler being a free agent and just being reunited there. But Corum is a really solid player, runs between the tackles really hard, is physical. He's of the smaller stature, but I think he fits what the Ravens would need. And plus, my whole thing with like him being more quote unquote NFL ready and, a little more worn down is the Ravens window is literally right now. Like this right now, you always have a chance when you have a chance when you have Lamar, but you're trying to maximize now. So I'm willing to sacrifice a year or two of 4 or 5 years in the future, or 5 or 6 years in the future, for a guy in Blake Corum who we don't know what the running back position is going to be right now. It's Justice Hill, and I mean that's it. You have Keaton Mitchell, but when's he coming back? So I'd sacrifice, 5 or 6 years down the line here for a player that could give you a lot of really good snaps and a lot of really good production, and maybe his first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think the Ravens are necessarily right now looking at, okay, what running back can we take that's going to be really good to, have in 3 years? Who's going to be? They want a guy that, like you said, like a Blake Corum, that they know the second he gets here, he can go and give you 15 touches a game, and his one going to be able to take it because at Michigan, he was, like you said, the workhorse, the bell cow. He was given the ball at all times, touchdown scoring machine. And I like what you point out with the not looking down the road, because the window is here. It's not something where, okay, the Ravens have 6 years to win. You want to get guys that are raw and develop them and, really build the team. The Ravens this year, and I think this draft is going to be different because it is almost who is most ready to help us now? Because like you said, 3 years down the line is too far to be thinking about. That's too far to judge, okay, we want to still be good in 3 years. We want to still compete in 3 years. Go win a Super Bowl now. Give us guys that next year you think can go out there and help us. And I think Blake Corum does that.
And even if we're talking about, the way that these draft prospects are evaluated, obviously the draft is a place for you to build your future. I'm not saying that if you're the Ravens, go out this year and take, 5 24-year-olds and, do that. I think if you're the Ravens, you have to balance it out a little more, though. And with the running back position, we talk all the time about how devalued it is, how the shelf life perceived by a lot of these teams, it's shorter for running back as opposed to other positions. So if Corum gives you 3 really solid years coming out of college, or 4 really solid years, and then, you're worried about the fall off from him, that's something you can, and there's no guarantee he falls off after 4 years either. So I get, some of the injuries happened and everything like that with the brace and stuff, but I think that he fits the timeline that the Ravens have right now, and he's not going to be your only addition or, I guess, re-signing in the room.
So I hear you. And I think that there's a good argument for that, especially with the ties to Michigan, and we know how the Harbaughs have those connections. I think it makes a ton of sense in that regard, and I hear your arguments. But what I would argue is that the amount of free agents on the defensive side of the ball for the Ravens this season is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
and we've already heard rumors about how the Ravens want to try and sign a quote unquote legacy running back,
right?
And the running back pool this season in the draft isn't great. I would almost argue that they could trade for or sign a free agent running back one of those legacy running backs this year, and then worry about drafting a running back next year. Seeing what the pool is next year, and continuing to focus on the defensive side of the ball, because offensively, I like where we're headed as far as like round one's concerned, because the offensive line still certainly needs help. There's no Zeitler, and Ronnie Stanley's questionable. But like when it comes to second and third, I think the focus is just going to continue to be on defense. So I don't know if I would go and spend a third rounder on a Blake Corum, especially when I know that I already have it in my mind that I'm going to draft a running back this season, and I would worry about drafting a running back next season to see what the draft pool looks like in 25.
And even to that point, I think, you talking about it kind of, sparked something with me with maybe, because it seems like they're going to sign a veteran, like whether it's Derrick Henry or whoever.
They have to.
Yeah. At this point, with everything going on there, you almost got to do it. But with Keaton Mitchell and kind of the uncertainty of his timeline, maybe what you do is you sign that legacy guy, you have Justice, and then whether it's an undrafted or a very late draft pick as your third running back until Keaton comes back, and then Keaton can slot in, and you have that three-headed monster, and then, that later. So I think a lot of the conversation is, look, in the third round, there's still a lot of value at other positions, especially, Brad, you talked about on the defensive side of the ball. So go and take maybe, if we want to flip maybe edge rusher, you take a second, well, not back-to-back edge rushers, like Trice and someone else wouldn't work, but maybe a corner, let's say. You take a corner in the third round and take a running back in the sixth. And then you have that running back be your third to start the season. Then when Keaton Mitchell comes back, he slots back in as your fourth. And then you have, let's just say it's Henry. You have Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell as your three, with that other late round running back in the equation to an extent, but not really.
Yeah. And quick question right here is, Henry would be a massive signing. Did we tag Beaks? So, little interesting thing about Justin Madubuike. Eric DaCosta came out and said that if they do not reach a long-term agreement with Justin Madubuike, they will franchise tag him. So it has not officially been put on him, but no, Justin Madubuike will be playing for the Baltimore Ravens next year. It's either going to be preferably on a long-term deal to help lower the cap hit for this year, or worst case scenario, he will be a franchise tagged player.